What's up, guys? It's your lucky day because today I'm going to show you how to make the perfect steak every time using the reverse sear method. I recommend this method for steaks that are at least 2 inches thick, like the one I have here. If I can stop struggling to get it out of the bag, we can go ahead and get started. There we go. All right, so we have a 2-inch thick prime ribeye steak here. It's composed of the ribeye cap here at the top and then the eye of ribeye right there in the middle. The first step to making a great steak is to allow it to come up to room temperature so that it cooks more evenly. We're going to go ahead and multitask while we wait for the steak to come up to room temperature by heavily salting the steak. This is important because this is a big cut of meat, so this may look like a shitload of salt. Well, because it is a shitload of salt. But it's important to season the steak adequately. Nothing worse than a flavorless steak. So go ahead and season on all sides as you see me doing here. Remember to press this seasoning into the meat rather than rubbing it into the meat. If you rub it, the seasoning will clump together and that'll cause it to burn and stick to the pan. If you get a nice even coat like I'm doing here, you'll have a beautiful crust and plenty of flavor on your steak. Now, as far as seasoning goes, I think that keeping it pretty simple with steak is best. Salt and pepper is traditional. However, you can add flavors like garlic and onion powder as well, or use your favorite steak rub like I'm doing right here. Just make sure that you season all sides, including that fat cap, and allow it to come up to room temperature prior to putting it in the oven. Now, the reason why this is called the reverse sear method is because we do the reverse of what the traditional method is, which is sear the steak first and then put it in the oven. Here, we're going to put it in the oven at 275 degrees first for about 45 minutes to an hour, or until it reaches an internal temperature of about 115 degrees. At that point, we'll go ahead and sear it off. So here we have an ugly piece of meat that's fresh out of the oven, partially cooked. We're going to stick it with our thermopin and we're going to see where we're at. I came in at 114 degrees, which is perfect. That's exactly where I want to be. Go ahead and get your skillet smoking hot and add a high smoke point cooking oil like avocado oil, which I'm using here. Add just enough oil to coat the bottom of the skillet and then allow it to continue to come up to temperature until it starts to smoke. At that point, lay the meat away from you and try not to burn yourself like I almost did there. Using your hand, press the steak down into the skillet. What we're going for here is getting as much surface area contact as possible. That's going to lead to a beautiful crust on your steak, as you're about to see in a minute. Make sure you sear all sides, and then after a minute or so, flip it over and unveil that beautiful color and crust. Now we're going in with some butter, some rosemary and thyme, and 1 garlic clove. Now, if you're new to this, please be careful, don't burn yourself and then come in the comments talking shit. But tilt the skillet towards you. Once the butter begins to melt, go ahead and flick your wrist up and baste the steak with the butter and the herbs. Continue to do that until your heart is content. You're making grade A food porn at this point. Go ahead and top this steak with the herbs and the garlic clove and continue to baste it a little bit more. And then we're gonna go in with our meat thermometer again, shooting for about 130 degrees. Another golden rule is to allow your steak to rest prior to slicing it. You wanna rest it for about 8 minutes or so. This is to allow the juices to redistribute throughout the meat. As you can see here, when I'm slicing the steak, it's plenty juicy, but the juices aren't running out all over the cutting board, which would be what happens when you slice your steak too soon. Now brace yourself for the money shot, which is coming up here. Perfectly cooked steak in my opinion. Feel free to cook it to your desired doneness. This is how I like my steak, and this is how you do the reverse sear method. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please subscribe, leave me a comment. I'll be dropping more videos every Monday for Make It Happen Mondays. Thanks, guys.